Welcome to Daily English Podcast, where we learn real English through real topics, real conversations, and real understanding. Today's episode is about Greenland, a place many people imagine as only ice, but in reality, it's a living society with people, culture, belief, food, health, weather, and a future the world is watching.
And as you listen, try to notice how we connect ideas naturally. This is the kind of English people use when they explain a topic clearly, like on the radio.
So let's start with the picture most people have in their mind. When they hear Greenland, they imagine endless ice, silence, and isolation.
That makes sense, but it's incomplete. Greenland is the world's largest island, located between the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans. It looks huge on the map, yet the population is small, roughly in the 50 to 60,000 range. Most people live along the coast because the middle of the island is covered by a massive ice sheet.
So in one simple summary, big land, small population, and most life happens near the sea.
Exactly. And Greenland's name in Greenlandic is Kalaallit Nunaat, which means Land of the Kalaallit, the main Greenlandic Inuit group.
Now, let's talk about the people, because a place becomes real when you understand who lives there. So who are Greenlanders?
Most are Inuit, especially Kalaallit. Their ancestors came thousands of years ago and built a life in the Arctic through knowledge, skill, and community. They didn't conquer the environment. They learned how to live with it.
Let's teach one strong word here for our listeners. The word is adapt. Adapt means you change how you live so you can survive in a new or difficult situation. Greenlandic communities adapted to cold, darkness, and distance.
And identity in Greenland is really interesting. Legally, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark and people have Danish citizenship. But culturally and emotionally, many people feel Greenlandic first.
So a short summary again. Legally connected to Denmark, culturally deeply Greenlandic.
Yes, and since identity connects to values, it naturally connects to religion and belief.
Good bridge. So what about religion in Greenland?
Most people are Christian, mainly Lutheran, influenced by Denmark over the last few centuries. Churches exist in towns and villages, and Christian holidays are widely observed. At the same time, traditional Inuit values remain strong: respect for nature, ancestors, and community.
That brings us to another useful vocabulary word, coexist. To coexist means two things live together peacefully. In Greenland, Christianity and traditional cultural values often coexist.
Now, from belief, we move into daily life, and daily life always brings us to food.
Yes, because food is not just taste. Food is survival. So with so much ice, where does food come from in Greenland?
Traditionally, food comes from the sea and the land. Fish is central, like cod and halibut, and shrimp is a major industry. Hunting also plays a role in some communities, including seal and caribou, and in limited cases, whale under strict regulation.
So the traditional diet is connected to the environment.
Very connected. And it's also practical nutrition. These foods provide protein and healthy fats, which help in cold climates.
Now, let's add the modern side, because not everyone is only eating traditional foods today.
Right. Fruits, vegetables, rice, bread, and packaged foods are mostly imported, especially into larger towns like Nuuk, the capital. Because food arrives by ship or plane, it can be expensive, and winter weather can limit supplies.
So, a short summary for listeners. Greenland has strong traditional food culture, but modern imported food matters too, and cost is a real issue.
That's right. And the moment we talk about winter supply, we naturally talk about weather, because weather controls the rhythm of life.
Let's stay with that word, rhythm. What is the weather really like in Greenland?
Winter is long, dark, and very cold. In the far north, daylight can be extremely limited for long periods. Storms and snow can stop travel, which affects work, school, and healthcare access. Summer is short, but it can be bright and active, with long daylight hours and more movement outdoors.
So life changes with the seasons.
Completely. And weather connects directly to health.
Perfect transition. Let's talk about health and healthcare in Greenland. What are the main health issues and how does care work in such a remote place?
Health in Greenland is a mixed picture. Traditional diets and active lifestyles can support strength, but modern health challenges exist too, like heart disease, diabetes, and smoking-related illness. Mental health is also an important topic because long winters, isolation, and rapid social change can affect well-being.
And what about access to healthcare?
Greenland has a public healthcare system supported through Denmark. Basic medical services exist in towns and villages, but specialized care can be limited, especially outside major population centers. For complex cases, patients may need transfer to larger hospitals, sometimes outside Greenland, including Denmark.
So distance is not just geography, it becomes a health issue.
Exactly. And here's a useful phrase for learners: access to care. It means how easily someone can reach medical help. In remote regions, access to care can be difficult because of distance and weather.
Let's pause for a short summary before we move into history. Greenland's health story includes physical health, mental health, and the challenge of delivering care across long distances.
Now, if we want to understand why Greenland is so important today, a little history helps.
Yes, give us a simple timeline.
Human life in Greenland goes back thousands of years through indigenous Arctic peoples. In European written history, a key moment is in the late 900s when Norse explorer Eric the Red arrived from Iceland and named the land Greenland. A few years later, Norse settlements began along parts of the coast. Over time, Denmark strengthened influence. Greenland gained home rule in 1979 and then expanded to self-government in 2009, with Denmark still handling areas like defense and parts of foreign policy.
So Greenland is self-governing in many daily decisions, but still part of the Danish realm.
Yes.
Before we jump to today's global headlines, can we zoom out even more? Some listeners might be wondering, how did Greenland become this place in the first place? Almost like the birth of Greenland.
Yes, and that's a helpful way to think about it. When we say birth of Greenland, we can mean two things. One is the natural story, how the island formed and why it has so much ice. The other is the human story, who arrived, who stayed, and why people came.
Let's do the natural story first. In simple words, how does a giant island like Greenland begin?
Greenland is part of the northern world where land and ice have shaped each other for a very long time. Over millions of years, moving tectonic plates and changing climates shaped the land. Then, during long cold periods, huge glaciers expanded. Ice didn't just sit on Greenland like a thin blanket. It built up, layer by layer, into an ice sheet that became incredibly thick in some areas.
So the island is not made of ice, but ice became its dominant feature.
Exactly. The rock and land are there, but the climate allowed ice to grow and stay. And because Greenland sits so far north, snow can build up year after year. Over time, that snow compresses into ice. That is one reason Greenland is so important for science today. The ice can hold records of past climates, almost like a frozen history book.
I love that phrase, a frozen history book. Now let's switch from the birth of the land to the birth of human life in Greenland. Who were the first people?
The first human communities arrived thousands of years ago from Arctic regions of North America. Over long periods, different waves of Arctic peoples lived there. The ancestors of today's Inuit, including the Kalaallit, are connected to these migrations. They built a life with what the environment could offer: sea mammals, fish, birds, and careful seasonal movement.
So Greenland's earliest human story is not one quick discovery. It's a long story of movement and adaptation.
That's right. And it matters to say this clearly. Greenland was never empty. Indigenous life shaped the culture, knowledge, and identity of Greenland long before Europe paid serious attention.
Now we can talk about the European story because many people ask this in simple words. Who found Greenland? And the honest answer depends on what we mean by found.
Exactly. If we mean who was the first human group to live there, that was indigenous Arctic peoples. If we mean who was the first European in written history connected to Greenland, then we usually talk about Norse explorers.
Let's make it clear for listeners. Which names should we know?
A key name is Eric the Red. He was a Norse explorer who left Iceland after conflict and exile. He sailed west, explored parts of Greenland's coast, and later returned to Iceland to organize settlement.
So he explored first, then came back with people.
Yes. And the next question is why? Why would anyone choose to sail into a cold, distant world?
Right, because it sounds risky. So what was the motivation?
There were several reasons, and they are very human reasons. First, land and opportunity. In Iceland, land was limited and competition was strong. Greenland offered space for farms along certain coastal areas that were milder than the deep interior. Second, status and survival. Leading a settlement could bring power and respect. Third, trade. Norse Greenland became connected to Europe through trade in valuable goods, including walrus ivory.
So it wasn't just adventure, it was economics and survival.
Exactly. And there's also a famous detail about the name Greenland. Many historians explain that Eric the Red used the name partly to make the land sound attractive to settlers. The coast can look green in summer, especially in the south, but the name also helped sell the idea of a new start.
That is such a modern idea, naming something in a way that makes people want to go.
Yes, and it also gives learners a useful phrase, to attract settlers. It means to encourage people to move to a place and build a community there.
Now, did the Norse stay forever?
No. Norse communities lasted for centuries, but eventually they disappeared. Historians discuss possible reasons like colder climate periods, economic change, supply challenges, and isolation. And at the same time, Inuit communities continued and adopted.
So Greenland's history is not one straight line. It's a mix of cultures, time periods, and changing conditions.
Exactly. And after the Norse period, Greenland became more directly tied to Denmark and Norway through history. A key turning point in the early 1700s was when a Danish-Norwegian missionary named Hans Egede arrived in 1721. That helped begin a new era of Danish presence, including trade and administration, that shaped modern Greenland.
So if someone asks who found Greenland, the best answer is Indigenous peoples lived there first, then Europeans arrived later, and the story continues.
That's the balanced answer. And we can connect this back to today's Greenland because history still affects daily life.
For example, language.
Exactly. The main language is Greenlandic, also called Kalaallit, and Danish is also widely used. Many people grow up bilingual, and that shapes education, work, and identity.
That's important for listeners to hear because language is not just words. Language is power and belonging.
Yes. And daily life today is a blend of tradition and modern life. In towns like Nuuk, you can find universities, cafes, music events, and modern workplaces. At the same time, many people still value traditional skills, connection to nature, and community support.
And transport shows that blend too, right?
It does. In much of Greenland, there are no roads connecting towns the way you see in many countries. People travel by boat, plane, helicopter, snowmobile, and in some areas, dog sleds, depending on the season.
So the geography creates a different kind of lifestyle. You can't just drive to the next city.
Exactly. And this connects back to cost of living and supply. When transport depends on weather, prices can rise and planning becomes part of everyday thinking. Even simple things like fresh vegetables can feel like a luxury in certain seasons and places.
Let's add one more cultural detail because it helps Greenland feel real, not like a distant idea. What about art in community life?
Greenland has strong storytelling traditions, and modern Greenlandic culture includes music, film, and visual art. You can see Inuit influence in carving, design, and the way nature is represented. And community life often follows the seasons. In summer, there's more movement, more festivals, more travel. In winter, life becomes more indoor, more close-knit, more focused on staying safe and connected.
So even when the land looks quiet, life is still happening. People are still building families, careers, and futures.
Exactly. And one more point for listeners. Greenland is watched not only for politics, but also for science.
Science too?
Yes. Researchers study Greenland's ice and oceans because changes here can affect sea level and weather patterns far away.
Ice cores can even show what the atmosphere was like long ago, and places like Ilulissat Ice Fjord, where massive icebergs move into the sea, make that science visible.
Tourism is also growing, which creates a new challenge: how to welcome visitors while protecting fragile nature and local community life.
That brings us smoothly back to the modern world and the big global question.
Yes, so now we arrive at the question many people ask: why is Greenland the land everyone is watching?
Let's go straight into it. Why does the United States care so much about Greenland?
The biggest reason is location. Greenland sits between North America and Europe, right in the Arctic, a strategic region for security and monitoring. The United States operates a major base in Greenland, known today as Pituffik Space Base, which supports space-related and early warning missions.
So even the base name tells a story. The local Greenlandic name is now used officially.
Exactly. And beyond security, there's also economic interest. Greenland is associated with valuable resources, including rare earth minerals, and as the Arctic changes, global interest increases.
That connects naturally to climate change, because climate is not just weather now, it's global change.
Right. Greenland's ice sheet matters because melting ice contributes to sea level rise, which affects coastlines worldwide. That's why scientists closely study Greenland and why the world pays attention to what happens there.
So Greenland is important in three big ways: people, politics, and the planet.
Well said. And one more important part: Greenland's own voice.
Yes, with all this attention from powerful countries, what do Greenlanders want?
They want respect, stability, sustainable development, and decisions that reflect their culture and future. Many Greenlandic leaders have repeated one clear message: Greenland is not for sale. Its future belongs to the people who live there.
Before we finish today's episode, let's slow down for a short vocabulary review. Just a few useful words from today's topic, explained simply.
Good idea. Let's keep it clear and practical.
First word, adapt. What does adapt mean?
Adapt means to change the way you live or act so you can survive in a new situation. For example, Greenlanders adapted to cold weather and long winters.
Second word, indigenous.
Indigenous is the original people of a place. The Inuit are the indigenous people of Greenland.
Third word, coexist.
Coexist means to live together peacefully. In Greenland, Christianity and traditional Inuit values coexist.
Fourth word, remote.
Remote means far away and difficult to reach. Many communities in Greenland are remote, especially in winter.
Fifth word, resources.
Resources are valuable things found in nature, like minerals or energy. Greenland has natural resources under its ice.
Sixth word, identity.
Identity is how people see themselves, who they feel they are. Many people in Greenland feel Greenlandic first, even though they are Danish citizens.
Seventh word, sustainable.
Sustainable means something that can continue long-term without harming the future. Greenlanders want sustainable development that protects their land and culture.
That's it. 7 useful words, all connected to one real topic.
And this is how vocabulary becomes easier to remember, through real meaning and real context.
Let's close with a final short summary that feels unforgettable. Greenland is not just ice. It's a living society with identity, belief, food traditions, real health challenges, and a strategic role in a changing world.
And when you understand its story, you understand something bigger: how geography, culture, science, and climate connect the whole planet.
Every word you speak builds your future. Keep speaking, keep growing.